Good morning. This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And there's just so many things to talk about today, but we'll have to narrow it down. We have missed a week because my job as an educator, although I don't work very long hours, it's been frequent. And so we have not been available. And of course we have dog school. So this is our only available day this week. And we missed Valentine's Day as a result of all this crazy schedule. So Tristan and I are wearing our Valentine's reminiscent outfits today to celebrate how much we love our dogs. You're the best Valentine, aren't you, Tristan? He says, yes, especially with that heart-shaped cookie we get. We share a shortbread heart-shaped cookie every year. Well, share. Tristan gets one bite. I get a lot of it over the course of a week. But it's our Valentine's Day tradition. So, as you can see, we have some snow out there and all over the south. It's freezing cold and icing and power outage, and luckily we don't have much ice here, and it's going to be 40 today, which is like really warm, although that is our average high. It has just been so cold, and in fact I'm still wearing the heavy-duty sweaters I have because not even until mid next week are we getting back to our average temperatures, which is a little frustrating in terms of my wardrobe, although I'm very, very grateful to have such super warm sweaters and pants to wear in this weather. But I'm sick of it. I just feel like I'm bundled up all the time. So as a result of the weather being wintry out there, I have a dog friend who experienced a pretty common situation in the winter. So for those of you who live in colder parts of the country or who are particularly athletic, you may have had this issue. So my friend took a long cross-country ski through the woods, up at the end of my road, back around through the woods and back to her house with her dog. And her dog is a big doodle. I mean, like, you know, definitely 3 feet at the shoulder. And the dog is maybe Tristan's age, 9, 10, something like that. And so she was going along with her mom through the snow on a nice day. And we've had some good warm sun on occasion that melts the top layer of the snow and then refreezes. Well, this dog's mom is an early morning go-getter, so they were out fairly early in the morning when that top of the snow was still frozen. Plus we have probably, I don't know, in the woods, maybe 10 inches or more on the ground. So she comes back from her ski, the dog's tired, you know, crunching through the snow and jumping along, and I think she was on a leash for most of this. And then she takes a little walk with me and notices some blood on the back of the dog's leg near where the dew claw would be, but a little above that. And the dew claw is significant in this story. So anyway, the blood turned out to be a pretty significant cut in the dog's leg, and she had to go to the vet and have a couple of stitches. And so this is something that we need to think about when we take our dogs out in the snow, no matter what size they are. It could be a basset hound or it could be a borzoi. When you are walking in the snow, if you ever stick your hand down there, you can feel how sharp it is on your skin. The other thing that happens when the snow is a foot deep or more and the dog's sinking into it, especially a dog like her who tends to bound a little bit, there's rocks, there's sharp sticks, there's all kinds of other ice things under the ground, especially if you're near any kind of a stream or a pond. So it's very, very easy for your dog's paws to be cut or your dog's legs to be cut when you take a walk in the snow. You have to be so, so careful. And it's particularly more common in dogs like this doodle who have hair, not fur. My dog has pretty fuzzy legs. I mean, it's not going to protect him from a sharp stick, maybe from ice on a pond and a little bit from the ice and the snow. But he's also really short, and being long, his weight is dispersed over a long area. So he doesn't go down as far in the snow. Although the way corgis go in the snow, and bassets and dachshunds are not unlike this, they boing up and down like this, and that pounce forward just like the foxes do. Can be really dangerous for dogs with dew claws or dogs who get a toe out and get caught, or don't have a lot of fur on the back of their legs. The dogs with hair, their hair tends to be a little thinner on their legs, and so they are not well protected. And you think about my mom's Schnauzer, typically Schnauzers are trimmed with a lot of fluff on the back of their legs, and this is one reason why, to protect the dog from injury when they're working, because these are working dogs. All these terriers and, you know, a lot of these other breeds. Certainly we've seen the poos on the poodles to keep them warm when they're in the water. So this dog is part lab, and she should have thicker hair on her legs because, of course, they're swimming in water, but she's just not that hairy on her legs. So you have to be really careful when you take your dog out in the woods. You should always have vet wrap with you. Do I always have vet wrap? No, I'm naughty. But you should stick some vet wrap in your pocket whenever you go out in the woods. For you and your dog, you should have enough to at least wrap around the leg a couple of times. Because, for instance, if it was the dew claw and it was sort of dangling, you can't carry a dog that big home, but you have to get home. So the vet wrap can just compress the dew claw down and keep it snug until you get back to your house. And, you know, at that case, you really need to bring the dog in because that bleeds a lot and it's super painful. This dog did not seem to be exhibiting pain, but most dogs don't look like they're in a horrible amount of pain. You know, they're animals. They have years of genetics, hundreds, thousands of years of genetics to not look weak. So just because your dog isn't laying on the floor crying like you might be in the same situation if your toe was ripped off, doesn't mean that your dog's not in a lot of pain and not in distress. You should use the shock point at the tip of the ear and rub that. If your dog has had an accident like that, you could do that even on the way home from the woods while your dog has the vet wrap on their foot. If you don't have vet wrap, you know, what might you have with you that you could use? You could take off your scarf. I often have a hairband that I can use. Some people have different kinds of gloves that you might be able to put on the dog's leg. You know, you can even just take some Kleenex out of your pockets and wrap your belt around to hold the dew claw in just to get to your car or back to your house. So this lady was pretty far away, but her car wasn't too far from where she was. But she didn't notice the cut until she was done the walk because, of course, the snow was over the depth of where the cut was. So you have to be really careful when you take your dogs out in the snow. And, you know, usually when we're out in the snow, like I know people in upstate New York maybe or Maine that go out in a snowmobile, and maybe they just have a little track around the backyard. They're not super snowmobilers, and the dog will run around behind them. These are the kinds of situations that can really be dangerous for your dog because you're not really paying attention. You're having a good time. You're laughing. It's loud. But make sure when you've had your dog out in the snow that you really check their legs for cuts because this is very common. I'm sure any vet in the northern climates could tell you that in the winter. And, you know, some people wonder, well, gee, should I put boots on my dog then? And, of course, they put boots on huskies when they're mushing. But most boots don't fit well and fall off, and they aren't really going to protect your dog's legs. They're just going to protect the paws. So, you know, like my friend used to love to go cross-country skiing and have her husky sort of pull her along. And that was okay because we were on ski trails and the husky was trotting in the trail of where other skiers had been. So it was usually a lot safer than just having your dog run loose through the woods. That's where you can get into trouble because they can't see what's under the snow and they're happy. They're having a good time with you. They don't think about where they're jumping and bounding. And this has happened with horses. Lots of people I know go out and ride in the snow because it's fun and the horses like it, but you've got to stay where the trails are that you know fairly well to make sure that they're not walking on sharp sticks and things in the ground. And in weather like in the spring in particular, the ice and the snow can break branches off, and it might not be a big enough branch to make a mound in the snow on the trail, but it's enough to cut your horse if he hits it at the right angle. So, you know, any kid like me who's been in pony club or something, we know to inspect our horses' legs before and after we ride them. And we need to carry that over to our dogs, you know, make sure there's nothing going on before you take your dog out for his walk, and make sure you look him over when you bring him in and make sure that nothing's injured on him if you're going out in the woods. And this applies, you know, in the snow and just in general if you have your dog off leash running through the woods. My friend's dog, A, used to always get porcupined, and B, often would have a cut somewhere on him from, you know, running over sharp things in the woods, because he just got so excited to be out hunting for porcupines. That was his made-up career for himself, that he would just tear through the woods and not really notice. And in that case, she had to really inspect his face and his ears and, of course, the porcupine quills, but, you know, all of him. And he was a black dog, sort of like a lab, and pretty thin furred, so it wasn't too hard to inspect him. Often we were at the barn at this time, and she would give him a little spray off on his legs just to make sure nothing was going on. So be mindful of what's going on to hold your dog up when you're out in the snow, and be prepared to manage it when you come home. And if you are going out on a long trip, I mean, if you're just playing even in the backyard and the kids are building a snowman and your dog's bounding around the yard, once again, you should check his legs and feet when he comes in, especially if your dog has dew claws. You can't be too careful. Those dew claws, as we all know, get caught on pile carpet and they can get caught in icy snow, especially in the spring when it's, you know, a foot of fluffy, light snow. Not so many injuries happen, but this spring snow is hard to ski on and hard on your dogs. So check their legs before and after you take them out riding, just like your horse. And if you do have a problem, do not hesitate to bring them to the vet, because, like I said, these wounds on the legs and feet can bleed a lot, and you want to make sure you get on top of it right away and do your T-touches on the tip of the ear. And then don't forget the usual things. Compression to stop the bleeding. You know, you can't really elevate the limb on your dog and hold his leg up like this. But if it's bad enough, somebody might have to drive you to the veterinary hospital. And if that's the case, you can lay him on his side and hold that paw up while you're compressing the wound till you get him to the vet. So everybody have a great day. Enjoy the weather as much as you can. We're just at February. You know, they always, T.S. Eliot said April's the cruelest month. He did not live in New England, because February is, you want spring so badly, and it's just like winter, 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 snow, 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 cold, cold, cold. And then this snow, not snow, you know, today it was pouring rain. I mean, we just get every kind of weather there is at this time of year in New England, and it wears you down emotionally and physically. So enjoy your time indoors with your dog. And to anyone in Texas and the whole South where you've lost your power, snuggle up with your pet and try to stay warm and ride this out, because you will have warm weather sooner than we will. So thanks for joining us today for this episode of Conversations with a Corgi, where we talked about keeping your dog safe when he's playing in the snow. Thanks for joining us. We will not be back this week, and I think next week, maybe Thursday. I don't know. My schedule's crazy, and we don't know how many exams we're getting to score, so it could be 1 million or not that many. So my schedule is crazy because our workload is very up and down. Thanks for joining us. Everybody have a nice day.